Hello, I enjoy working on audio and video equipment. This is a DAT machine, Tascam DA30 MKII. The Mark II is quite different to the Mark I. Well, I enjoy it except when it's my own equipment from my own studio that's broken down, as is the case here. I really want to fix this machine because it's been a workhorse for so long. I have other DAT decks, but this one I've been using as the primary machine for transferring people's DAT tapes for about 8-9 years since I bought it. And apart from when I first got it, I had to change the drive belt. Apart from that, it's been flawless until today. So let's find out what's wrong and see if we can fix it. Okay, I'll power it up. Put tape in. Press play. It's working. What am I worrying about? That. It only plays for a few seconds and then it says error 02 and stops. And when I eject the tape, it has a small loop of tape. So this is likely to be a problem with real drive, I would suggest. But let's take it apart and have a look. First thing I need to do is get my tape slack sorted out. Right, let's take the lid off and take a look at the problem. Strapped to the back I have a spare drive belt, so I must have bought 2 of the belts when I replaced that. But I don't think that's the belt that's going to be a problem today. I think that's one of the loading belts. Let's get you looking down on the top of it. Okay, let's just see if we can see the problem. I suspect that the take-up spool will not be spinning during play. So that's this spool here. Let's see if that rotates. No, it doesn't. Just as I suspected. Let's try rewind. No rewind either. Fast forward. Doesn't sound very happy. And no take up either. No tape retraction into the cassette. So we've got no real drive at all. Does this machine have a real drive belt that may have fallen off or snapped? I can't remember, but I think it's fairly easy to get the deck out, so we can have a look. I think we have to disconnect this spring in order to, from one end or the other, in order to take the deck out. Which end? Okay, this was the very small loading belt which I had to change previously, of which I have a spare. This belt here, is that responsible for delivering capstan drive to the rear idler? That's a toothed belt, so that shouldn't be the type to fail. Let's see if I can operate the deck a little bit upside down and see what happens when I select fast forward, say. I'm having a bit of trouble operating upside down. Ah, that spring is causing me a problem, that's why. Okay, let's try fast forward. Okay, so we're seeing the belt run, but doesn't sound happy. So there may be a problem in here. that could be a bit harder to fix. Doesn't sound right either. Fast forward again. No. So we have a problem in the rear drive mechanism beyond the belt. And now the tape's slack. Okay, that's possibly a little non-trivial to repair. Let's see what we can find. I'm not sure if that belt was sitting on its gear. I think it may have slipped off its gear. I select fast forward and play, and that's working. Power it down. So our problem is that this belt here had slipped off the gear that it's supposed to be driving, and that can only mean that the belt is going slack. So really we need to change this belt, but sourcing a replacement is likely to be impossible. So let me show you what it was doing. The drive belt had got itself above the gear which operates the rear drive, such that when the capstan motor was driving a belt, it was spinning like this. I'll try and get the light a bit better. There we go. So it was slipping like that and not driving the toothed gear underneath. So if we just drop the belt back onto its gears underneath, like that, that's all it took to get it going again, but clearly something is wrong for the belt to have fallen off. And I've been assuming it's due to belt slack, due to a very slight stretching, and that's not impossible. So perhaps if I could very slightly increase the tension on this with maybe a roller or something, that might overcome the problem. But reading up, it could be something else. It could be that the belt was thrown off due to excessive friction on here. So let's just check that this is free to spin okay. Because what can happen on these apparently is that you can get excessive tension on this due to dried up oil, and the excess tension causes the belt to either shred up or get thrown off. I have to say that does seem like this gear is a bit sticky. Not the rear idler one, this one. But that's going to be rather hard to lubricate. I mean, the rear idler must have some friction in order for it to swing from side to side. And unfortunately we can see that here. We can see its pivot point here. But it feels like, well, I don't know. Which is the one that's got excessive friction? Both are rather hard to get to. I could just feel a bit of drag as I'm pulling on this. I'm trying to work out which gear is the problem. No, it's not the first gear. It's the second one. It's this one. It's the friction on that which is a little bit too high. Perhaps slightly high. The trouble is you can't have no friction on there. It won't swing properly. And I really can't get to it without a huge amount of dismantling. I'm going to apply just the tiniest drop of oil on this shaft from the top here, just in case it's catching somewhat on this split washer down here and dragging it. A drop of oil so small I can barely get it on the end of here. Let me see what I can do with that. Just a hint of oil there. Work its way down. Hardly anything. Let's see now if this feels a little better. Run that in a bit. I think that might be just a little bit smoother to push. Am I dreaming that? Of course there is a confirmation bias risk, but it does feel just a little smoother to push. Okay, now the belt. There's a small possibility a replacement belt will be obtainable from somewhere. Does the belt have wear on it? Might that be part of the problem? It doesn't look worn, it doesn't have any stripped teeth. And looking at it, could I arrange a little bit more tension on this belt? I don't want to provide any drag, so I'm not sure I'd want to put a stationary object here dragging on the belt. I think that would be unhelpful. What we really would like is a small roller, which easier said than done, isn't it? If I had a stationary pillar there, that would apply a lot more load on the belt. I can feel it even now. I can feel it. That's applying more load. And there's very little room here. There's very little depth into which any kind of roller could be mounted. Okay, I think what I'll do is put the deck back on loosely at first and just cycle it through a whole heap of functions and see if it works. I would be inclined to replace the belt anyway if I can, but for a moment, let's put the deck back together on the right way round and just test it. Okay, so let's just pop the deck back into place, including this spring. Let's test it a little bit. So power it up. So we've switched it on. It's already got the tape in there. Let's select play, and as you can see, the the take-up spool on the right is turning properly. Let's put it through some paces. So fast forward. A little noisy, but that could just be the tape itself. Stop at the end. Okay, rewind. Okay, let's try some more challenging things. So we're in play and we use a jog and shuttle, which is not something I've used terribly often actually on this. Forward shuttle. Reverse shuttle. Noisy. It's working, but it's a little noisy. Right, reverse search, 2 tracks. It's not noisy when it's playing, but it seems to be a little noisy when it's shuffling modes. And I'm going to punish it now by just hitting rewind when it's at full speed. Right, hit rewind now. Yeah, all seems to be behaving. So I'll just leave it on test for a while and see how it gets on. Okay, it's been on test for a while and it's not doing anything wrong, but I can hear, and I don't think I'll pick it up with this microphone, a very faint chattering noise whilst playing, stops during pause. And I think that's because the drive belt to the rear idler is chattering on the teeth of the drive to the rear idler. So I suspect that the belt is stretched very, very slightly. Some people in various forums have said, oh, that's the capstan drive belt, and it's not driving the capstan, it's driving from the capstan motor to the real mechanism. Right, so I'll see if a replacement belt is available. In the meantime, I'm going to put this back in the studio. It can continue to be used in its present condition. It's not going to damage anything. Okay, that's all back in one piece and ready to go back in the studio. I'm not a fan of these permanently mounted ears, rack mount ears on this model. I find that they can catch your fingers and stuff, and they're just a bit unhelpful. Now, you might say that having a toothed belt being driven from the capstan would be a bad idea, and in an audio cassette environment it would be, because you'd be guaranteed to put wow, or actually flutter in this case, back into the capstan. But of course this is a digital audio format. The data is clocked out. In fact, it's not even recorded continuously. If you look at the RF envelope from DAT, there's gaps in it, and the data is compiled and then clocked out by a quartz controlled system. So there's no such thing as wow and flutter on this. So there's no consequence to having toothed belt on the capstan. Okay, here we are again several weeks later with our DAT machine and with a letter from Chalfont Acoustics. And we have the toothed belt, a TIAC original part, but it was very expensive. Right, let's install this, and hopefully that will take out the slack that we were seeing in the original belt. It's been so many weeks, I've forgotten how to take it apart. And I think we have to disconnect this large spring and undo the screws and take the deck out. Wouldn't it be nice if they'd given us a small access panel underneath? And here's our old belt, which has slack in it, a little bit too much slack, and I'd have been able to pop right off there. So let's find out how we take that off. Probably just undo these screws a bit and pop the belt out over the top. Right, I'm going to compare the dimensions of the old one and the new one. The old one having more of an orange colour, so it should be easy to spot them apart. So there's a new one with a sort of a yellower colour. It feels, even though it isn't thicker, it feels thicker. It feels like it's got more twang to it. So, of course, the amount of stretch is small. It may only be a couple of millimetres, but it's enough to, of course, the belt to pop out over the top. So now I can just install that here. I think I'll fit it on the difficult end first. This is surprisingly hard to install. Okay, I've just had to take the end cap off the motor here, and I found that the motor is jammed, so I must have rammed it down somehow. This has slid down the shaft and all seized up, so I need to free that up from the shaft again before I refit that. So I've got myself into a pickle with this shaft. It's definitely not rotating now, so I must have pushed it down when I was trying to fit the belt. Okay, it doesn't rotate if it hasn't got this on the end. This applies pressure. Right, okay, so that's sitting there on a magnet. I hadn't broken anything. So, right, refit the belt, refit it to the pulley, but it won't rotate until we've put the housing on the end. Okay, see how it floats there, and then it will rotate. Okay, it rotates properly now, and definitely with less slack in that belt. So it's rotating properly there, and there's less slack in the belt. Oh good. I was worried for a moment. I had a bit of a moment then that I didn't realise how crucial this component was here. I don't think I've ever come across a motor of quite that construction before, so I was just a bit thrown by that. Right, before I refit all the screws and everything, I'll just check that the machine works. Hit play. Yep, good. Fit the rest of the screws. So that's the part number V00019200A. I don't know if Chalfont have any more of those, but they didn't tell me that it was the last one, so there's hope. I hope you've enjoyed what we've done here with this DAT machine. I'll do plenty more content on audio and video technology in the near future. Bye for now. And here it is fully working in my studio, but there's a couple of weaknesses with this, and one of them I want to show you comparing it to a DA45HR. If you have errors being played in the recording, you don't know unless they're so bad as to interfere with the sound. Comparing that to the 45HR, if we press play on this and select display, we can switch it around to A, and that is the A head errors at that moment, and press menu and it'll give you the B head errors. They should be 0 or close to 0. You can do that in the 45HR, but we can't do that on the DA30 MKII. Another weakness can be, I don't have one to show you, certain extremely long tapes won't play on this. It'll give you an error message. And for that, I used another machine, one of the Sony models. I'll use those for playing the extremely long tapes.